On the day of the engagement, my betrothed compelled me to navigate the entire ceremony solo. Simultaneously, I noticed trending news revealing her public declaration of affection towards her admirer. When her admirer returned to the country, he swiftly assumed my position as my supervisor. He usurped my opportunity for the esteemed industry exchange in the gemstone sector and even clinched the gemstone design competition title that rightfully belonged to me. I confronted Sophia and she retorted, "Don't cause a fuss? How dare you measure yourself against him?" In response, I abandoned the wedding, transferred to a competing firm, and ascended to become a prominent figure in the gemstone industry. Meanwhile, Sophia clutched a sizable sapphire ring, weeping and imploring me to return and marry her. Encircling another woman's waist, proudly displaying my company shares, I remarked, "Stop kidding yourself. How dare you compare yourself to her?" An hour before the engagement celebration, I sat before the vanity, my phone frozen on a message from Daniel. It showed him in a charcoal suit, his arm around Sophia's, presenting them as the perfect couple. The message read, "You're getting engaged today. Maybe if you plead a bit, I'll show leniency and let her go." I gazed at the cuff of his sleeve, noticing the emerald gemstone set in his dark suit cufflink, the very same I had gifted Sophia for our 6th anniversary. At that moment, the makeup artist, who had been on the phone, approached apologetically. "Sorry, Miss Chen already collected her suit yesterday." I stared blankly, unreactive, when another buzz came from my phone, another message from Daniel stating, "By the way, this suit suits me better than you." I began dialing Sophia's number, but after numerous unanswered attempts, I slammed my phone onto the table and took a deep breath. The makeup artist cautiously asked, "So what's our next move? Can I use your phone for a moment?" I responded coldly. Within seconds, the call connected. I bypassed any reprimand and got straight to the point. "Where are you?" In her typically indifferent tone, she replied, "Didn't I inform you? I'm on a business trip. You'll manage without me." I couldn't believe it. "You're making me handle the engagement alone." She evaded the question. "It's a unique situation. I'll bring you a gift when I return." I could faintly hear a man's voice in the background before Sophia abruptly ended the call. My throat tightened as disappointment washed over me. Ultimately, I attended the engagement ceremony alone, facing the bewildered and mocking gazes of family and guests. Some individuals are truly pitiable, unbelievable. Who's he performing this one-man show for? Amidst the gossip, my phone buzzed twice. "Here's your engagement gift." As I walked down the aisle, the large screen behind me began displaying a live broadcast. I turned, following the crowd's astonishment, and saw the woman who was supposed to attend the engagement party. Instead, she stood on a street in Edinburgh, holding a bouquet of vibrant purple irises. The video title read, "Reality Mirrors Fiction. Wealthy heiress proposes on Edinburgh streets." She gracefully approached the man opposite her, knelt on one knee, and tenderly offered him the flowers. As if showcasing her love, live comments flooded in, wishing them happiness, eternity, and future children. Such a perfect match. A love story from heaven. A solemn vow. Please marry already. I silently watched this spectacle unfold, feeling like an unintended third party in the narrative. Sophia returned, accompanied by her entourage, and reserved a venue for 3 days. I discovered the private event through my credit card statements. Sophia hadn't invited me, and her circle of affluent heirs wasn't particularly welcoming. Every time I saw that man, looking so eager and desperate, it repulsed me. He was merely exploiting his resemblance to Daniel. Hasn't Sophia had enough of him? She's even engaged to him now. I halted mid-step at the door. At that moment, a clear male voice intervened. "So, she's even engaged to him now." I paused again. "Are you planning to marry him?" The room fell silent briefly, and I heard that familiar, laid-back voice. "I'm just teasing him." The men feigned hurt, saying, "When I left abroad, you told me you'd wait for me, and now you've already fallen for someone else." She casually consoled him. "I never loved him." I forcefully pushed the door open, and the chaotic scene immediately quieted. It was so silent you could hear a pin drop. The smile that had adorned Sophia's face suddenly flickered with panic. I forced a stiff smile, my tone dripping with sarcasm. Sorry to interrupt. Someone attempted to smooth things over. What interruption? You're already here. Come in and have a seat. I ignored them, walking straight to Sophia and getting to the point. You skipped my engagement party just to send him flowers. Sophia glanced up, impatiently saying, Stop causing trouble. I have things to do today. Just go back. I maintained my stance, pressing further. If we don't resolve this today, no one leaves this room. Sensing the tension, Daniel stepped in. Adam, you're misunderstanding. We're just friends. What happened yesterday was purely a friendly gesture. Sophia is a wonderful person. You should trust her. I didn't even glance at her, continuing to press Sophia. You're giving flowers to a friend and on one knee. Sophia interrupted irritably. Can you stop believing all that nonsense online? Look at yourself now. You're just like a brainwashed fool. Am I the one mistaken? Or is it your thoughts that are twisted deep down? I was already furious when Daniel suddenly handed me a glass of water, his voice attempting to soothe me. Adam, don't be angry. Really, nothing happened. Here, have some water to cool down. Ah, I accidentally knocked over the glass, and the scalding hot water splashed out, burning Daniel's arm. I hissed, feeling it sear my own hand as well. Sophia quickly grabbed Daniel's arm, her eyes filled with concern, and the sight pierced me. When she looked up at me again, her eyes were cold, indicating her rising anger. Adam, apologize? I clutched my burned hand, my body trembling with rage. The words stuck in my throat. I couldn't speak. The affluent second-generation crowd began to support her. Adam, enough. There's a limit to how much you can be jealous. I took a deep breath, clenched my fists, and said, sorry, then punched Daniel squarely in the face. Daniel's eyes went blank, as if still stunned, and his face turned sideways. I raised my scorched hand and said, you burned me. I didn't look at Sophia's expression, focusing solely on Daniel's swollen face, and smirked. Sorry, couldn't control my strength. If you want her, take the deceitful woman. With that, I glanced at Daniel's resentful glare and Sophia's pale face, and walked out without looking back. I was born in a secluded mountain village in the south. Growing up, I tended cattle and cultivated corn, never having encountered the outside world. It wasn't until I ranked first in the city's high school entrance exam that an uncle named Taylor came to my home. I followed him to Metropolis and became a sponsored student in the Taylor family. At the Taylor residence, I met Sophia. She had just matured into a young woman, elegant, graceful, and stunning, capturing my youthful admiration. Initially, I was merely Sophia's devoted follower. During physical education classes, she played volleyball while I handed her water and towels. When she developed her first crush, I covered for her for 3 years. She skipped classes to attend concerts, leaving all her homework for me. Her friends dubbed me the ultimate simp, often teasing me. I didn't mind. Being kind to her felt like a mutual exchange, not tied to my pride. I didn't truly fall in love with her until a summer night 12 years ago. It was Sophia's birthday party, and those affluent airs tricked me into believing Sophia had become intoxicated and wanted to see me. It was past 11 p.m., and I couldn't secure a taxi, so I ran over 10 kilometers. By the time I arrived, someone attempted to frighten me, claiming Sophia had fallen into the pool. In a daze, without thinking, I dove straight in. After struggling for a while, my limbs grew weak. In the end, it was Sophia, who had surfaced for air, who pulled me out. She gave the instigator a thorough beating and declared, Adam is my brother. Anyone who dares to bully him will answer to me first. After that incident, I began to cherish every moment spent with Sophia and fantasized about forever. The night before college entrance exam applications, the sky was filled with stars, the grass lush, and the birds singing. She leaned close to my ear and whispered, Do you know what my dream university is? I blurted out, It's the one you mentioned 3 years ago, written on your bookmark. But now, she said, a university where you are is also pretty great. It was in the capital city, my first choice. That sentence became the most beautiful confession I kept close to my heart. Later, we both enrolled at the same university. I chose gemstone design as my major because the Taylor family was a prestigious gemstone family, and independent gemstone designers were always in high demand. From the moment I started, I worked diligently to enhance my drawing skills and participated in various gemstone design competitions. I displayed my trophies and certificates in Sophia's room, excitedly pledging to her, "Wait and see, I'm going to create a series of bestsellers for the Taylor family and support you for life." Sophia just smiled and gently kissed me. That kiss was mint-flavored, blooming in late spring and early summer. Before summer arrived, I designed my first tangible piece, 2 rose-tail rings. I planned to wait for the rings to arrive and present them to Sophia as a token of my love, but instead, I saw Sophia and Daniel together, kissing in front of the display case filled with my trophies, oblivious to anyone around them. Daniel, a young master from the Hong Kong elite, wore high-end luxury brands and exuded elegance and wealth with every gesture. As for me, I was labeled a counterfeit because of my similar peach blossom eyes, but he was the one who had come later. On the day Daniel left to study abroad, Sophia screamed, "I'll wait for you." I stayed with her at the airport all night, holding her, kissing her. I told myself it was okay. I could wait. I could wait until she forgot about him. I moved out of the apartment. The last message I received before Sophia's number was blocked was, "Wait for it. I'll make you beg me to get back together." The next day, when I saw Daniel at the office, I finally understood what she meant. "This is the new director, Daniel. Just returned from abroad. Let's give him a warm welcome." The meeting room fell silent, and everyone instinctively glanced at my expression. Everyone knew I was competing for the design department director position that week. For the past half year, I had already become the team's leader. I suppressed the urge to laugh bitterly, then said, "Taylor, welcome." Everyone sighed in relief and began clapping. Daniel smiled, acting as if he hadn't noticed anything. "Thank you, everyone. I have to attend a meeting. Could you please help me tidy up my office?" He looked directly at me, his eyes flashing with a pleading light. If I didn't know his true nature, I might have thought he was simply asking a regular colleague for help. I finally couldn't help but let out a mocking laugh. Joel, my assistant, quickly stepped forward. "I'll do it. Adam's busy." Vice President Wu cleared his throat. "All right, let's wrap up the meeting." I didn't pursue Sophia, but she had successfully pushed me to the center of attention. In the cafeteria, the gossip was relentless. "What's going on? Did Adam and she break up? Did you hear? He got stood up at his engagement party. Such a pity, but he brought it on himself. He had to fly too close to the sun, aiming for the phoenix." My phone buzzed with a new message. "Today's the deadline. Move back in. I'll give you everything you want. Be obedient." I looked up and met Sophia's eyes, who had just put her phone down. I was the first to avert my gaze, saying to Joel, "I have something to do. You can eat alone today." With that, I left Joel, who stood there stunned, and turned briskly. "What's wrong?" Daniel noticed Sophia's distracted look and asked. Sophia gritted her teeth, her brow furrowing in anger. "I've agreed to what you suggested yesterday." Sophia and I were now in a full-blown Cold War. Meanwhile, my latest design draft was rejected by Daniel for the 6th time. "What's going on with you? The rose element we agreed to add. What is this? The rose doesn't fit the theme for this issue." "Who's the director here?" "Exactly." Daniel tilted his chin slightly, arrogance radiating from his eyes. He slammed the design paper into my chest. "If you don't fix it, I'll report you for negligence." I took a deep breath, suppressing the anger swelling in my chest, and silently turned around. "Sophia, Adam doesn't seem to be doing well lately. You should talk to him. If he keeps this up, he'll drag down the whole design department." The sweet, syrupy voice drifted through the crack in the door. The colleagues passing by immediately hid their gossiping stares. I lifted my head abruptly, stormed back to my office, and slammed the draft onto the desk. Joel hurriedly handed me a glass of water, trying to calm me down. Bro, relax. It's not worth it. I drank a few sips of water, exhaled, and my racing heart began to slow down. Thanks, I said, my mood easing a bit. Did the approval come through? ASD was a renowned French gemstone company that entered the Chinese market last year, establishing an annual exchange program with the Taylor family. The project leader from ASD was Michael, and I was his biggest fan. Joel hesitated, clearly uneasy, as he fumbled to answer. My heart sank as I opened the application page. The word rejected stared back at me. I called Vice President Wu, and he was surprised. Wasn't the spot internally recommended to you? What? I was momentarily caught off guard. This morning, Mr. Taylor mentioned in the meeting that the spot was internally recommended to you. What? I was momentarily caught off guard. This morning, Mr. Taylor mentioned in the meeting that the spot was internally recommended. I abruptly hung up the phone and rushed to the general manager's office. How could I have forgotten? She was the one who had personally given me that spot. Only she knew how long I'd been waiting for this opportunity. She's always good at these little tricks, vengeful and aloof. I forcefully pushed open the door to the GM's office and saw two people standing close to each other. Sophia pushed Daniel away, her movements flustered. Daniel pretended to be nervous and adjusted his clothes, saying, "I just arrived. You should talk to him properly. I'll leave now." With that, he brushed past me, suddenly stopping to smile provocatively. "See you at dinner." He flashed a triumphant grin at Sophia. Sophia nodded at him and then turned to frown at me, complaining, "Why didn't you knock before coming in?" I sneered. "What? Did I ruin your little plan? Can you stop with the conspiracy theories? Daniel and I are completely innocent." "Fine, then tell me, why did you give him the internally recommended spot?" Sophia didn't ask how I knew about it, only replied, "I heard you've been a bit off lately. So the spot that was supposed to be mine, you gave it to her instead." Sophia frowned. "The company spot doesn't lose out, no matter who gets it. Can you stop being so petty? Do you know how many extra hours I worked and how many projects I took on for this spot?" I retorted angrily. My voice tinged with frustration. Sophia remained unmoved. "I know, but you don't. You don't know. After all the work, none of it matters if you don't lower your head and apologize to me." I clenched my fists, crumpling the edges of my clothes. "Adam, I just want to tell you, I've never treated you unfairly. Only by taking back what I gave you will you realize how much you've actually received. Come back, and I'll pretend nothing ever happened." I took 3 steps back, my voice firm. "Sophia, everything I've received up to now is something I fought for with my own effort. When I was with you, I wasn't after any of this. I'm telling you now, this company, with him, not me." Sophia gave a cold, mocking smile. "Daniel has a higher degree, greater ability, and he's more obedient and thoughtful than you. How dare you compare yourself to him?" The last sentence felt like a dagger to my heart. Sophia sighed. "But don't worry, I won't abandon you. After all, we've been together for 6 years. Yes, 6 years. It wasn't a waste to see a woman's true nature after 6 years. The sharp pain in my chest spread throughout my body. I numbly nodded and said, "Fine, I'll resign." Oh. I arrived at the bar and drowned myself in alcohol until I was completely drunk. "Is anyone sitting here?" A soft, sweet voice interrupted my thoughts. Accompanied by the faint scent of her perfume drifting through the air, I squinted, only to see an unexpected person. It was Miss Lily, the second daughter of the Wong family, Taylor's arch rivals. I had some impression of her. Last year, the two families launched new products in Los Angeles. My new product was a huge success, overwhelmingly stealing the spotlight. Miss Wong wasn't happy about it and directly came to find me. That day, a model had an emergency, and I had to step in myself. Standing under the spotlight, a glass purple sunflower pendant sparkled at my collarbone. Compliments poured in incessantly, And soon, some people started bidding right on the spot. I didn't reveal myself as the designer to avoid unnecessary attention and speculation. In the growing excitement, a figure stood in front of me. Her gaze shifted from my neck to my face. We locked eyes for several seconds, and I realized she wasn't looking at the jewelry, but at me. My cheeks flushed slightly, and I frowned awkwardly. She squinted and smiled, saying, "Blind to what's valuable, when there's something much more precious here." Her words confused everyone around us. What happened next left everyone stunned. She pulled out a business card and handed it to me. A. 5 million annual salary. Lily's doors are open to you. After that, rumors spread that the second daughter of the Wong family had shown interest in Taylor's exhibition model and offered a 5 million yuan sponsorship on the spot. Only I, facing her directly at the time, understood that she was openly attempting to steal Taylor's talent. Of course, I refused her. Afterwards, Lily never revealed my identity, nor did she pursue the matter. I sighed in relief, and before Sophia came back, I swapped shifts with the model, so Sophia never suspected it was me. I hadn't expected to run into her here. I politely curved my lips. "Hello?" She seemed uninterested in maintaining pleasantries and cut straight to the point. "I heard you didn't get the promotion." I scoffed. "Do you have to be so obvious?" She didn't respond. Instead, she leaned forward slightly and extended 2 fingers. "Whatever she offered, I'll offer twice that." I shook my head regretfully, just wanting the conversation to end. "Miss Lily, please leave." Lily lazily twirled her drink and casually said, "Next month is the IGS National Gemstone Design Competition." I tilted my chin slightly, determined. "I'll win the championship with my skills." Lily smiled faintly, leaning in to whisper, "Can you really?" Her question lingered like a ghost, echoing in my ears long after she spoke. I thought of the director position I had lost and the corporate exchange opportunity that was internally recommended. Taylor was one of the sponsors for IGS. I grabbed my drink again and started drinking heavily. By the end of the night, I blacked out. The next morning, I woke up in a strange room. I opened the door and unexpectedly locked eyes with Lily, who was standing outside. Her gaze darted away quickly, and her cheeks turned bright red. I was completely confused by this. Surely we didn't sleep together. Right. I looked down at my still intact clothes. The moment I did, Lily's expression turned even more awkward. "No, nothing happened." She quickly tried to clarify, but her face had the unmistakable look of someone trying too hard to deny it. Something definitely occurred. I could sense something was off. I just played along with polite laughter. "Thanks for last night. I'll head out now." Lily nodded vigorously, then seemed to remember something and said, "I'll take you." I planned to return to the office to pack my personal belongings. So Lily took me to the building entrance. "Hey." Lily called out to me as if she wanted to say something but hesitated. "Watch out." A sharp honk from an electric scooter suddenly pierced the air, and I pulled her back with all my strength. In that moment, memories flashed through my mind like a shooting star. I staggered towards her, the world spinning, and accidentally buried my face in the peaks of her majestic figure. When I came back to my senses, I froze, standing by the side of the busy street. "What are you two?" A shout snapped me back to reality. I released Lily and turned to see the source of the voice. Sophia. "Adam, I've been calling you all night. Is this how you're spending your time with Lily?" Sophia's hair was disheveled, her eyes dark with exhaustion. Her usual meticulous image was completely gone. A sudden, vindictive pleasure surged through me. But someone was one step ahead. Lily lightly looped her arm through mine and smiled indifferently. "Do you have a problem with that?" Sophia looked at us, stunned, unable to form a coherent sentence. "No, but you too." I leaned in toward Lily, mocking. "What's wrong? Are men only allowed to be yours?" Then I casually draped my arm around Lily's shoulders. Let's go. Breakfast. Perhaps provoked by Lily's presence, Sophia stubbornly refused to sign my resignation form. I packed my things and took them home, then entered a creative lockdown mode, focusing on my design sketches. I decided to enter the IGS National Gemstone Design Competition as an individual and prove my worth. During this time, I only kept in touch with Lily when she occasionally stopped by. Strangely enough, despite being rivals, Taylor's top designer and Lily's rival, I found that our design philosophies were shockingly similar. While sketching, we talked about art, music, and everything in between, effortlessly syncing. When my project was finally finished, the first person I thought of sharing it with was Lily. In the summer sun, a woman in pure white sat on the ground, gazing down silently at the artwork. She looked like a painting, framed in a small room, so beautiful that I didn't dare to disturb her. The air was quiet, and her long sigh seemed to fill the space. "You've always wanted to know why I went to such lengths to get you into Lily's, right?" she finally said. "Why?" I asked, intrigued. The answer lies 6 years ago in the North Side studio of the A University Art Building. The air grew still for a few seconds before I suddenly exclaimed, "Ah, were you the one with the mushroom haircut?" In my junior year, I discovered an abandoned studio in the corner of the art building while rushing to prepare for a competition. I often stayed up all night there, but soon another person started showing up as well. After a month-long battle for space, we reached a ceasefire agreement. We'd split the studio in half. During that time, neither of us spoke. The only sound was the soft scratching of pencils on paper. Lily continued, "That period was my low point. But in your eyes, I saw light. I actually knew you from freshman year. At the club's first meeting, you showcased your still immature work and told everyone you wanted to become a gemstone designer. Later, you represented the school in a national design competition and reiterated the same aspiration. I couldn't help but imagine what it would be like to fight alongside you." She finished speaking, then looked at me with surprise, her voice softening. "What's wrong? Huh?" I belatedly realized my face was wet and my heart trembled. I suddenly buried my face in my hands and broke down in tears. I felt a gentle hand on my head and, without thinking, leaned onto a slender yet strong shoulder. "Trust me, your skills are more than enough. As for everything else, let me help you." "Okay," I whispered, barely able to speak. A month into the competition, I made it to the finals without any major incidents. The final event was held at the famous convention center in Metropolis. The exhibition area was open and buzzing with people, a crowd of talented designers dressed in fine attire. Each piece of work was framed and displayed for guests to admire. Even if a work didn't win, simply being displayed here for a few moments was an honor for any designer. And the work that drew the most attention was, naturally, the one that stood out the most. I walked over, standing in front of one particular piece. Stunned and speechless, Lily approached me, softly reading the title aloud. "Moonlight." "I thought your final work wasn't this one," she asked. My face turned ashen, and without thinking, I turned and ran, frantically searching through the hall. It wasn't until I saw that figure that I charged forward, grabbing a glass of red wine and hurling it directly at him, ignoring the crowd that was beginning to gather. I shouted in fury, "You stole my design, how shameless!" The sketch I had left behind in my apartment. He hadn't changed a single line. Daniel, looking bewildered and innocent, retorted, "What are you talking about? I really don't understand. Why do you always target me? Just because Sophia used to like me. You slander me like this." I was beside myself with rage. I grabbed his wrist and started dragging him toward the door. "Stop pretending. You're coming with me to the arbitration committee." "I don't want to." Daniel suddenly started struggling violently. Sophia rushed over and shoved me away, shouting, "Adam, stop bullying Daniel." I pointed at her, my finger trembling with fury. "You're enabling him." Sophia was unfazed. "Can't you stop making a scene? How many times do I have to tell you? And how could Daniel do something like that? Maybe you should reflect on yourself." My head was spinning, and in that moment, the people before me seemed like strangers. The woman I had loved for over 10 years had repeatedly lowered my expectations in the past 2 months. A member of the competition committee approached and asked, "Is there a problem here?" Sophia quickly responded, "No, everything's fine." The committee member nodded. "Then the awards ceremony will proceed as scheduled at 7 p.m. I opened my mouth to speak, but Lily, who had been standing behind me, gently placed a hand on my shoulder and shook her head. Sophia's expression darkened as she observed our interaction. After the event, at the usual place, she said coldly, "Across from the venue is a university, and under the blue jacaranda tree at the entrance is where we used to meet so often." I couldn't help but glance out the window and saw the sprawling blue-violet color outside. The flower language of the blue jacaranda is desperate love. Lily whispered in my ear, like a spell cast by a prince. Rather than obsessing over something that's not right for you, it's better to look around at what's near you. The host on stage announced, "The winner of this competition is Like Me and Moonlight." Two voices rang out in my ears at the same time, with completely different content, like two thunderclaps. Lily slowly raised her right hand, speaking clearly, "I'm reporting this." Ignoring the subtle gestures from the competition committee, Lily continued, "Sophia bribed the judges. The winner of this competition is in doubt." The incident eventually made headlines, and the Taylor family stock plummeted. I also submitted evidence to the arbitration committee proving Daniel's plagiarism. This year's gemstone design competition was abruptly suspended, and the organizing committee faced a major overhaul. My phone was bombarded with media inquiries, and my private residence was exposed. In desperation, I had no choice but to retreat to my hometown and lay low. Unexpectedly, the next day, Sophia came looking for me. She looked disheveled, her face haggard, a clear reflection of the stress she had been under. "Sophia, I really didn't expect you to do this," I said. She looked up at me, her gaze deep and filled with emotion. "The company has fired him. Come back, please." If it had been the old me, I might have easily fallen for this. But now, I just sneered. "Go ahead. Tell me what you want me to do." Sophia gently took my hand. I didn't pull away, and she seemed to savor the moment. "Adam, the Taylor family has supported you for so many years. Just consider it a way to repay them. Attend the press conference and clarify this situation." "Fine." I agreed without hesitation. Sophia's eyes brightened. "Really?" I said seriously. "I'm not like you. When I say something, I follow through." Sophia was momentarily speechless but didn't lash out. She forced a smile and nodded. "All right, I'll arrange for a driver. After this is over, will you marry me?" I paused for a moment, confused. "This is over? Will you marry me?" I paused again, confused. "What do you mean?" Sophia, looking moved, responded, "I saw the back of the Moonlight design. I realized that it was the piece you made for our wedding. Only now did I realize how much you love me. From now on, I won't have any more dealings with Daniel. I will love only you, now and forever." I curved my lips into a smile, but my eyes remained cold. "Okay, I want a traditional Chinese wedding, a honeymoon in Bali, and to wear Michael's latest Starlight collection." Sophia embraced me intimately. "No problem. I'll make all the arrangements at the press conference." I picked through the statements, only saying a few polite words to return the favor. In the meantime, the buzz outside was all about my engagement with Sophia. On our wedding day, I wore a simple white outfit and knocked on the door of the Wong family's French estate. "Confess your love and then disappear. Are you playing hard to get?" Lily smiled as she looked at me. I smiled back without a word, pulling out a document from my bag. "Take me in for a few days." This was my payment. Lily also took out a stack of documents. "I can take you in for a lifetime. These are my payment." I flipped through the papers. My ID card, household registration book, bank cards, a stock transfer contract, and a rental agreement. I was speechless. Well, I must admit I'm a greedy and lustful man. Lily seemed to enjoy the moment. Good. I happen to have both wealth and beauty. Feel free to take what you want. Meanwhile, news of the Wong family heiress running away from her wedding spread like wildfire across Metropolis. It even made it onto trending news, stating that Sophia waited at the wedding venue for an entire day and night, but the groom never returned. A month later, Lily and I returned to the country, and I finally turned on my phone, which had been off for a while. Thousands of missed calls and messages flooded in, and I deleted them all without hesitation. I went to Wong Corporation to finalize my job entry, then returned to my apartment, where I was greeted with a passionate embrace. Sophia's hair was disheveled, her body completely bare. This sight alone was enough to make my blood boil. With a strange surge of strength, she forcefully pushed me onto the couch and climbed onto my waist. I struggled desperately, shouting, "Sophia, are you crazy? The woman before me is a mess." Her expression dazed, no longer the sharp, elite CEO I once knew. She mumbled, "Adam, you're mine. You can only be mine." She leaned in to kiss me wildly. I bit down hard, the metallic taste of blood spreading in my mouth. "Don't make me lose respect for you, Sophia." Her movements paused for a moment, and just then, a strong force shoved Sophia away. A blanket quickly enveloped her from head to toe. Lily stood there, arms crossed, looking down at her with disdain. I've never seen someone so shameless. Sophia, possibly aware of how humiliating she looked, covered her face and started sobbing. I walked over and squatted in front of her, silent for a long moment. She looked up at me, her eyes filled with hope. "Adam, don't you want me anymore?" I sighed and patted her face gently. "Do you get it now? This is how you treated me before." Sophia whispered, "I'm sorry, Adam." I forced a smile. No need to apologize. I stopped caring a long time ago. Panic rose in Sophia's eyes. "It's not like that. Please don't." I turned away, not looking at her. Late feelings are more worthless than grass. Lily put her arm around mine, pulling me closer. "Miss Taylor, if you keep hanging around my boyfriend's place, I'll call the police." Sophia shot Lily an angry glance, but before she left, she said to me, "I don't mind, Adam. I'll wait for you, just like you waited for me. I know you did this on purpose. You wanted me to experience what it's like to be stood up. I've felt it now, but I'm honored to feel what you went through. Just treat me as your backup. I've always been here. Moonlight, I created it. It's the witness to our love." The Wong family's Spring of Thorns became a huge success and the top piece of the season. Meanwhile, the Taylor family suffered from the bribery scandal, with sales plummeting and their new designs failing to make it into the top 50. I officially joined the Wong family as the design department director, earning the nickname Gemstone Tycoon. Before I knew it, this title was widely circulated in the industry. During an interview, Lily suddenly leaned into the camera and said, "I have an announcement to make. We're getting married next month. Media friends, you're all welcome to attend." I was surprised, and she winked at me. The next day, the news of our wedding dominated every headline. This time, unlike before, I was genuinely excited for the wedding. After a series of tedious preparations, I finally donned a suit and stood under the bright lights. But standing next to me were two women. Seeing Sophia, who had seemingly appeared out of nowhere, made my lips twitch in disbelief. The crowd buzzed with chatter. Lily, however, was unfazed, casually standing there as if she were watching a show. "Adam, I only realized after losing you that I can't live without you. You learned design from me, and my room still has your trophies." As I reflect, I remember all the little things we shared. We raised pets together. You know my taste in vegetables, and you picked out my dresses. My future can't have you. With that, she pulled out a sapphire ring the size of a pigeon's egg. Tears streamed down her face. "Adam, will you marry me?" I scoffed, pulling out my phone and showing her the stock page. She looked at it, and her smile froze. I put my arm around Lily's waist and smirked. "Stop joking. How dare you compare yourself to her? I didn't even glance at Sophia again. Together with Lily, we walked toward the center of the stage. There was my bright future,